Hello, everybody. It's Rose, Regent, and Chloe here today. We're going to be doing something a little bit different than usual. Um, we're going to be doing an experiment, one that I saw Spiffing Brit do, um, and I kind of wanted to do it with our own channel. This is going to be a 3-in-1 video. We will be cutting out the other two videos. You're going to be getting a 3-in-1 video if you're early. So yeah, it's going to be a little special. I do encourage you to actually watch this to the end, so that the experiment works. Alright, we're gonna start. Male loneliness epidemic. We're finally getting to it.
Yay!
It was my bad that we kind of didn't get to this one first, but Chloe found other stuff she wanted to watch, so let's go.
I regret to inform you, the men are not okay. That's right, folks, the men are not okay. The men have no friends, no girlfriend, no college education, no money, are breaking their legs and inserting metal rods into their bones to be a few inches taller, and listening to AI Batman help them overcome their pornography addictions.
You deserve real love.
Turns out the society that was built by and allegedly for men has indeed let them down. Now you might be thinking, oh look, another boo-hoo poor men video by Shoeonhead.
Yes.
Yes. And if you have a problem with that, tune into literally anything else. Men are in a crisis, and it seems nobody really cares. And the people who do care just seem like the people who want to sell them shit. Not me.
Steal your monster.
I'm different. So before we get into this, let's quickly get into today's sponsor,
where I sell you shit.
Why are men and boys struggling?
I'm sorry.
And what should we do about it?
A few new studies have come out that have shown that young men are more lonely and single than ever before. But it's not just men. The women and children, too. It's predicted 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030. But according to the media, this is a good thing. The she-economy is booming.
In my opinion, that is utter coswalk. That is not a good thing. Regardless of what anyone says, that is not a good thing that people are ending up alone. Everyone deserves the opportunity to find love, even if, like, you know, you're, like, asexual or aromantic. Props to you, but you still deserve to have a person, if that makes sense. Like, not, like, you're seeking it, but, like, you know, you still deserve to have somebody you can confide in, and people don't have that, necessarily.
I agree.
As they say. And meanwhile, men being single is treated like this.
New study explains why some single men are having a hard time finding a new partner.
Some of the music that they listen to speaks very
Honestly, this guy is such a fucking tool right here.
very derogatory.
Right.
Yeah, man, stop listening to that derogatory music. Then maybe you won't be single. I don't know, I think men and women being single and lonely kind of shows there might be something wrong with society. Perhaps we should address this, not just wave it off as empowering or pathetic. According to several different articles, I love how that's my source, I read about it on the internet, research shows that people from individualist countries show a greater sense of loneliness. This is linked to socioeconomic development, increased education, a shift towards white-collar jobs, and urbanization. Japan also has an issue with loneliness. In fact, they have a whole movement of people they call the hikikomori. Did I say that right? I don't care. Basically, postmodern hermits. Mostly young men who completely withdraw from society, secluding themselves in their rooms for months and years at a time. In 2010, there was an estimated 700,000 hikikomori in Japan. And today, it's estimated to be about 1.55 million. And because of things like this, people aren't having babies, so Japan's population has been in a sharp decline since 2011. It's gotten so bad that Japan even produces videos of live-action women staring into the camera to help the hikikomori learn to cope with eye contact and reintegrate them back into society. So basically, if you want to know America's future, look no further than Japan. A lot of people, including myself, blame this partially on the rise of social media and technology. RIP to the king. Although technology makes things easier, it can also make us more atomized. Why go to the mall when I can just tap, 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 buy a new microphone, and have it shipped to me in a day? Why hang out with friends when I can get all my social interaction I need from Twitter and streamers? Why go on dates and bother meeting women when I can just tap, 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 Google big boob and get 2 million results result, or see my high school crush's holes on OnlyFans for only $5. Instant dopamine, instant satisfaction, and hey, who even needs a real woman when you could just have an AI girlfriend? We're so fucked. Dating apps really are the great Satan, and I'm convinced they've completely broken men's brains. Women on dating apps are picky. Women in general are picky, and I mean, naturally we are pickier. You know, we're the ones who carry the babies.
Indeed.
At least for now. But on dating apps, you have to admit, it's a little insane.
Yeah, this is pretty accurate, in all honesty. It's really sad. It really is rough on dating apps. It's not, in my opinion, I don't even think they're worth installing.
They're not.
Because it is very much window shopping, like she said. Um, you know, people are looking at you, like, as you look, not as you are.
It's really depressing that that's kind of what the dating scene has come to. Me personally, I think personality should be the main thing that you look for and not window shopping. Like, this guy looks cute. Because, yeah, sure, that guy looks cute, but what if he's a jackass and traps you with kids, and then the next thing you know, you're living with the narcissist for the rest of your life and you can't get out of it?
That's
You
true.
know.
And honestly, like, I can say the same thing to dudes as well. I mean, it's like, it's not, like, I mean, we do get the same pick as well, technically, in the grand scheme of things. But
What
we're
if a
not,
guy thinks, hey, look, this chick is hot, but this chick is a gold digger, and if you don't pay for everything that she asked for, she's gonna beat the shit out of you and then scream and cry to your fucking friends, and then fuck your best friend behind your back, and then you lose two people because she made you think that you were in love.
yeah, let's go with that.
It's not nice, it's not fun.
It's not.
Dating apps should not be a thing. They should at least not be as widely used as they currently are.
It's sad, the state of things, but, you know, it's not much that, like, the average person can do except for, you know, just be a better person, really. You know, treat others how you want to be treated. You know, that's, you know, the thing I always heard growing up, you know, treat others how you want to be treated, and you'll be treated good. Granted,
Do unto others what you want done unto you.
Yep.
It's safe to say that the commodification of love and the window shopping of dating apps probably has to do a lot with the rise of lonely single men. Men are not just lonely when it comes to dating, they're lonely when it comes to friendship too. According to Vox, Americans are currently in a friendship recession, and men are being hit the hardest. The percentage of men who reported having at least 6 close friendships fell in half since the 90s. 1 in 5 men say they have no close friendships. Looking at all these statistics, the explosion of figures like Andrew Tate is not surprising at all.
I believe being a man is a blessing because it
This guy's a
starts so
tool.
difficult. I believe that every man is born without any value at all. I think that the world's never going to think you're important unless you make yourself important.
And recently, a new study came out.
Yeah, no, Andrew Tate
Didn't
can,
he go to jail?
yeah, very good reason as well for going to jail.
What did he do? All I remember is that he
Trafficker.
went to jail. Oh, shit. Well, I guess that's one way to make yourself important.
As in, you know,
Importantly avoided.
yeah, people trafficker, you know, and also just a straight up douchebag as well. He's a fucking incel. This is the biggest incel, basically.
About how young men are moving towards the right. And every other month, we, the liberal, sockdem, leftist, whatever you want to call the space online, performs the same song and dance. What's wrong with men? Why is this happening? Why don't we have a leftist Andrew Tate? We need to push men to the left. Andrew Tate rarely, if ever, talks about politics. Andrew Tate talks about men, and the left only talks about men when they talk about Andrew Tate. A few months ago, during one of the monthly song and dances, some progressive people I follow made the mistake of addressing men's issues, and the even bigger mistake of pointing their finger at their own spaces for not
And this is entirely true. I'm gonna be real. I've not heard any good advice towards young men from like a left-leaning content creator, except for Shoeonhead.
Not doing enough to address said men's issues.
Recently, there were some statistics by healthcare company Cigna indicating that men are the loneliest generation. And addressing it doesn't mean that you turn your back on issues pertaining to women, but it does mean that we should be focused on what it is in society that is leading to this epidemic, what the left can do to offer solutions, and how we can basically fight back against the more nefarious figures who have filled the void that men are struggling with, people like Jordan Peterson and what have you. Now, recently, Vosh, who's a popular streamer, had tweeted this thread that I think is really, really important to address. He writes, "I cannot stress enough how important it is to understand that 12-year-old white boys on Twitch are not being pulled into fascism because of some Machiavellian desire to preserve and expand their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't."
The responses to these tweets and this content were very normal, level-headed, and respectful. Me when I lie. LMAO, cry about it. Boo f***ing who? Oh no, poor widow men having problems. Boo f***ing who? Grow the
Yeah, to these people, I would say, how would you feel if, like, someone came about your problems like this? Doesn't feel very good, does it? Like, have compassion
Everyone
for
should
other
be able
people.
to be open and honest
Yeah.
without backlash.
Yeah, have compassion and empathy for people, because it's a very rare thing these days to have compassion and empathy.
f*** up then. Have men considered being smarter? I'm enjoying all these
Opinion
sad
discarded.
little moids and their sad little tweets about their sad, pathetic lives. Sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah, how would you feel if I said, "Oh, your problems sound like a personal problem"? Not very good, huh? Yeah, that's what I thought. Opinion discarded.
Is the lack of compassion for men in the room with us right now? Maybe men are just not good people then.
Oh, wow. Generalizing much? Like, sometimes I wonder what got people to where they're at, where they talk like this, like about everyone. Like, because I know these people wouldn't just say this about men, they'd say this about other women too. Like, and some of these are probably men talking like this too. And, like, it's like, I don't understand why you're here and why you're like this. But I think you should probably get off of the internet, go touch some grass, and talk to some actual people. Because you've obviously been in the echo chamber for too long and haven't touched grass.
I'm so fucking tired of people trying to make male loneliness a huge societal problem.
It is a societal problem. It is one that we as a society have to fix, because that's how societal problems work.
Yeah, no, their fifis are not my responsibility, and I shouldn't have to be punished because they can't get their shit together as human beings. Grow the up. Why are we trying to win these entitled little predators over?
Here's another thing. Is every man in your mind a predator? Is every man that you've ever met a predator? No?
No.
Then, you shouldn't talk about people like this. Because you're talking about all men. Whether you feel like it's all men or not, or you're like thinking about specific men when you're typing this kind of shit, the way that it's taken is you're talking about all men. Even if that's not your intention, it doesn't matter. That's how it's going to be taken, because that is how the average person will perceive this kind of message. That's just is what it is. Because there is no other way to put this to where it's like, oh, only these specific men.
It says entitled little predators. That doesn't say any like nice little group up. No, it just says entitled little predators. So that's just automatically taken as, why are you calling guys, and like especially lonely guys who probably have a lot of social anxiety and don't really know what to do with themselves because they were never taught, entitled little predators. I mean, I understand like some people in the male loneliness epidemic are probably lonely because they are jackasses, but there are also going to, like, 100% going to be those people who just genuinely have absolutely no idea how to interact with others. And that doesn't make them predators. It might make them incredibly emotionally damaged, and they're probably going to have a lot of anxiety about it. Like, I'm not lonely, but I fucking hate going outside. You know, I have whatever the fuck that phobia is of leaving the house. I can't
I think
stand
it's...
talking to other people. It
Isn't
scares
it,
the shit out of me.
Isn't it agoraphobia?
I don't know what it's called. I just know that it fucking, like, I cried when I was off my medication and I had to leave the house. I would have like little, well, not, they weren't little, they were really bad, but I would have like really, really bad anxiety attacks. But I am incredibly lucky to have other people who understand and support me, and most people probably don't have that support
That is
system.
true.
So that can be one major reason for the quote unquote male loneliness epidemic. Not everyone that is lonely is going to be a horrible, terrible person. They
Right.
probably just have no idea how to be different, or they aren't comfortable with being different. But I wholly understand that some of them are probably lonely because they are jackasses.
Yeah.
I mean, I have met people who deserve to be alone,
Oh yeah,
but
definitely.
it's definitely not everyone.
Yeah.
So
And
calling people entitled little predators, that's not gonna go over very well. It really isn't. That's not cool.
yeah, and it's, yeah, there's, I mean, you're right on pretty much all of that. Like, it's really not fair to like generalize people. Like,
Mm-mm.
because I mean, you're gonna catch a bunch of people that are innocent in, like, the things that you're accusing in the first place. Like, it's not really fair to them. And I know the world's not fair, but you don't need to make it worse, you know?
Yeah.
The left isn't for them. That's why they go right in the first place. We're all lonely and alienated. It's young men going to the alt-right in droves. The problem isn't our messaging, it's them. It's literally not our problem. Men flock to Andrew Tate not because they're lonely, but because they're bigots. Hope this helps.
No.
It's just misogynists being louder than before and not getting laid. LOL.
I'm gonna be real, if you talk to people, they, like, getting laid is like one of the lowest concerns generally among lonely men. Um, Granted, there are some that are like, oh, I want to get laid, I want to get laid, I want to get laid, but most of it's like, I'm just lonely, you know.
We'll see a lot of guys who only have like one or two other guys, and one of those other guys doesn't understand. Their main response is probably going to be stick your dick in something.
Yeah,
And that's how people get in their heads. I just probably need to get laid.
yeah,
Like that's my issue when it's not. Honestly, just
yeah.
interaction. Human interaction solves a lot. And by interaction, I mean like out loud speaking, maybe some hand holding, hug somebody for Christ's sake. Like that's what people nowadays need. They just fucking need a hug.
LOL,
Wasn't letting
cry
me press
harder,
spacebar for
losers.
some reason.
90% of all homicides recorded worldwide were committed by male perpetrators. We should just get rid of all males, to be honest. This includes trans women, as they still retain male violence. By the way, you know the Tumblr feminists who were like, all men are sexist and rapists, male tears, penises are evil, blah 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 back in the day? Well, this is them now. Should've
Yep.
just let me cook back then. Listen up, chuckle. I'm white, socially awkward,
God, this guy
autistic,
is
in my 40s,
insufferable, though.
ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, and have bad skin. You know what I didn't do? Choose to become a fascist, because I recognize most of the sort that look like me are the problem. I may be hideously ugly and pathetic, but at least I'm not a fascist. Thank you for your input, buddy. You're, really helping in this situation. The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them, for our own sake. I'm sorry, but how is respect women brain-dead advice? What
You
advice?
need to show respect
Don't rape,
to earn
don't
respect.
be a
Jesus
rapist
Christ.
is bad advice? Help, I have no friends or community, I feel suicidal. Have you considered not raping? Act like a decent fucking human being, it's not hard, is brain-dead advice?
People are horrible.
Yeah,
People
honestly.
are terrible.
Brain-dead advice like, get consent and don't be a Nazi and women are people. Walking up to men struggling with loneliness and depression like,
Kids, don't be racist.
incredible.
Yep.
Here's my actual advice I would give to my teen boys as a leftist. 1. Always get enthusiastic consent. 2. Save the planet. 3. Don't say that. It's actually kind of racist. Like, what the f is this? How does this address men and their issues?
It doesn't.
Doesn't.
Why does their advice always seem to be, become a liberal? Hey men, here's how to fix all your problems. Agree with me politically. Men flock to the MRA movement because they're the largest beneficiaries of MRA shit. Imagine saying women flock to women's rights activism because they're the biggest beneficiaries of women's rights. Like, no
shit.
shit. Let's be honest. Aside from procreation purposes, men have become obsolete.
This is a dude saying this, by the way. This is one of those fucking white knighters. It's like, bro, get out of here.
Most women can find other methods of achieving orgasm without a man there. And speaking as a man, most of us are horrid to be around, and I don't blame any woman for just saying, no thanks. Oh my god, dude, this is what every Just Pearly Things tweet looks like to me. Just with the genders swapped. This is pathetic. You know what fixes male loneliness? Jerking off.
That's not how that works. In fact, honestly, you'd be
Male
more
loneliness
loneliest.
is not just about sex.
Also, I'm gonna be real with you. You're more lonely after you jerk off and you finish. You're more lonely than when you started.
As a man, I'll say this. Sit down, shut up, and beat one out. You'll feel better.
You
I
won't.
promise. Yeah, guys, just beat
No.
one out. Just off. Just watch porn. Batman will be very disappointed in all of you. It's so funny how men feel entitled to a girlfriend. No, you sexist freak. When one side is like, wanting a girlfriend is sexist entitlement, and the other side is like, here's how to get a girlfriend. I don't know, bro. What happened to males just
Yep.
kicking the bucket? Now they just come on here and try to make their loneliness and misery into some social justice issue. Oh, trust me, men are still kicking
Yeah,
Are you
this
serious?
this is a really sad graph, honestly.
the bucket. And when they're not giving mind-blowing advice like just to be a liberal, they're outright dismissing men's issues completely. It's not our job to educate them. Since men created the problem, they need to take steps to fix it. We have
People
other
are
things to care about.
horrible.
Men can figure out their own problems that they created. Again, it's not women's jobs to change how men are socialized. It's a man issue and y'all need to address that amongst yourselves. Men created their own problems. Men can solve their own problems. The left is busy. Why does the well-being of other people concern me? Leftist, by the way. It's all systemic issues and societal factors and blah 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 until it's a man and then suddenly it's pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. This problem is just a consequence of the patriarchy. Now take a wild guess about which gender created the patriarchy. Solve your own problems and leave women alone. These people rightly mock the bootstraps rhetoric until the subject is a man and then it's bootstraps all the way down. They would never talk about any other group this way. It's wild. And it's kind of like both sides are telling men to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but one is like, I'll show you how, and the other is like, fuck off. And when they're not telling men to straight up fuck off, they're giving the 200 IQ answer that nobody has ever heard before. Just show your emotions, bro. And I'm not dismissing this problem, okay? I've made videos talking about this. Oh, you're crying at your grandfather's funeral? Okay, it. And studies have shown that men are scared to be vulnerable, even around the homies. And can you blame them when the media says stupid like this? Fellas, is it woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss history? Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Don't tell me there aren't systemic problems affecting men. Now, while a lot of this may be true, men have been socialized this way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomena. Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of, like, gender nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just appear in the mid-2010s, but social media did, and the internet did, and the rise of dating apps did, and the housing crisis, and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse than it was during the Gilded Age. That all happened recently. Oh my god, the privileged life these poor little boys must have, that their biggest problem is being lonely, i.e. so insufferable that nobody wants to sleep with them. So much more pressing than the poor distribution of wealth causing people to suffer food and housing insecurity. Boo-hoo, you're lonely and have no friends and are suicidal? Wah. Because feeling alienated under capitalism apparently isn't a thing. People are working harder and longer while wages have been stagnant, men have been dropping out of college like flies, and what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now, and many are now out-earning men, this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high rate. In my opinion, leftism at a policy level does a great job addressing the shitty material conditions that in part lead to the problems that men are facing. But then absolutely drops the ball when it comes to everything and anything related to men's cultural issues. Many such cases. And why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left appears actively hostile to them?
The question of whether or not the hashtag online left does enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And like, men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and
they had like a
assaulting.
red light
The
in their
average
face
young man
or
in America isn't Jeff Bezos. Also, why did this motherfucker just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like that. They want it to stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff, telling people they're special and deserve all the nice shit that they have, that's going to be an easier sell 10 times out of 10 than like saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff. We're gonna take your stuff. You sound like a 65-year-old Fox News boomer's idea of what the left is. Are you a CIA agent? The right is saying to men, you will own a house. You will have beautiful children with your loving wife. You will have privacy. You will have free speech. You will own things, and you will be happy. And the left is like...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But don't get me wrong, Republicans will not do shit. The Republican Party will not do shit. The establishment in general will not do shit to help any of this. But the right is, at least rhetorically, offering men something other than nothing or the eternal HR department. Every time this discord comes up, there's people like, we need a leftist Andrew Tate. We need masculine role models on the left. But the fact is, it's hard for progressives to organically appeal to men because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchy.
This is also
men
true.
are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle from the start. And although it's funny to laugh at insane people on Twitter, as always, there have been a lot of left-wing content creators talking about men's issues. If you would have told me this would be a thing 9 years ago, I would not believe you, because anyone talking about men's issues back in the day was called an MRA or a pick-me. But lately I have seen a lot of good pro-men lefty content, and I'll put some links to some below. I don't agree with all the points they say, but I recommend watching. It's much better than...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But the issue is a lot of this lefty pro-men content, it's always framed around how do we get them? As if men are just pawns and tools for your personal politics. How do we make the left more appealing to men? How do we stop lonely men from moving to Andrew Tate? Instead of just, how do we help men? And I think that's a really big issue. Both sides seem to treat men as political fodder. Disposable soldiers in the culture war and real war. Anyway, misandry is real. Oh good, finally! And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Oh. Y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are right there reading this shit, by the way. I see, now we only care about misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop! It's affecting a group I care about now. I love how the rhetoric just like evolved overnight from male tears to cis male tears. And I just have to ask, why aren't you including trans men in your misandry,
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to like have people want to hug us and to have people want to talk to us and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Welcome to being a man. Here's your complimentary isolation and yellow pillow. I love how even when he's experiencing the issues of being a man, he's like, this doesn't invalidate people hating men. Come on, bro. Men struggling don't want to be lectured about the patriarchy. They don't want to be told it's all their fault. They don't want to be told they're part of the problem, because first of all, they're not.
Yeah,
the average 20-year-old
the average
didn't
man
build
is not
society.
the problem.
They go to work, come home, off to sissy hypno fetish porn, and go to bed like everyone else. I've talked about this before, but a lot of men's value comes from the money they make, unfortunately. Men are natural providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. Whether a job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of and provide for, men are lacking purpose. And a man will crawl through broken glass for a purpose. But you know who does make them feel like they have a purpose?
Not this one.
No, not him.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you.
The absolute audacity to act shocked that Andrew Tate is scooping these guys up after a decade of lol male tears is insane. Andrew Tate isn't the solution to men's problems, but he is talking to them. The fact is, you did not care about them for years, and even now you just want to recruit them, not help them. And that's why you will fail. And hey, maybe I'll be the Andrew Tate of the left. Men, listen up. Wash your penis. So I guess I'll leave you guys with a question. Why do you think male loneliness has been increasing? What are your solutions for this problem? And are you dealing with loneliness?
Yes. And,
Social media is a problem.
Yes, and I do not have a solution.
Sadly,
Enough said.
no.